A while back, Johnny Rowland and I were talking on the telephone and discussing our mutual interest in what might loosely be called cowboy guns. And so I promised Johnny that I'd try and do a segment for the Shootin' Show dealing with my favorite cowboy guns, as it were. And it's a handy opportunity for me, too, to discuss the concept of a firearms battery where you have several guns that are all in the same caliber. For example, this Winchester Model 94 Trapper that I've got in my hands here is in .45 Colt. This single-action Army that I've got is in .45 Colt. And this little hideout gun, this little Derringer, is in .45 Colt. Now, each of these guns has its own purpose, of course, and these days, guns like this are more generally suited for fun shooting, although certainly all of these guns are worthwhile in the defensive context if necessary. Now, let me tell you a little bit about each one of these guns. This Model 94 Trapper has a rather interesting background. My friend Ron Mahofsky at MetaLife Industries took a basic blue Model 94 Trapper from Winchester and fooled around and came up with the best looking piece of wood that he could come up with and the best action that he could come up with, put it all together, and then metal-lifed it. Now, metal-lifing is an electrostatic chrome binding process, and the metal-life process is amazingly durable, and it's just ideal for a gun that's going to get some rough use in the woods or in the out of doors. Now, this gun, the Colt Single Action Army, and this is actually a Colt, this was a third generation 7.5-inch nickel in .45 Colt again. I just don't have a real affinity for nickel plating on guns. And so what I asked my friend Ron Mahofsky to do was to metal life it over the nickel plate, which makes for a virtually indestructible finish. Now, before Ron finished up with the metal lifing, however, this gun was sent off to quick draw expert Bob Munden. He's a man you may recall who's the fastest gun in the world according to the Guinness Book of World Records, and he's also a superior gunsmith. Ron metal-lifed it, and Bob Munden action-tuned it, and the result is an indestructible gun that has a trigger like a sniper rifle and will last and last and last. The full race action that Bob Munden put on the gun makes it as slick as anything you could possibly imagine. You really have to shoot it in order to appreciate it. Lastly, in .45 caliber, I've got this stock Derringer from American Derringer Corporation of Texas. Now, this is their .45 410. This is an excellent, excellent little hideout gun. And there's a sad thing to say, though. In California, the .45 410 combination can't be sold anymore. The reason is that because this little gun will chamber a .410 shot shell, in California, some misguided legislators decided they would label this a sawed-off shotgun. Now, if this looks like a sawed-off shotgun, well, perhaps I'm deluded. At any event, in .45 410, or just in .45 Colt, this is an exciting little gun. It's pleasant to shoot, not for a protracted period of time, but it's pleasant to shoot, and it's very reliable, and it's as well made as a little Swiss watch. Now, let's try a little shooting with these as well. The tape on another unit, and then the two of them would come together onto a third unit, which would actually be the finished product tape. So that's the nice thing with this, we don't have to actually edit this. Johnny's facilities can do that, and that makes it a lot simpler for us as well. And they do a real nice job with it, real slick. Either, because we don't have a satellite, so, and the local cable company isn't picking it up yet, but Johnny sent us out tapes of the first two shows, and he's just going to keep sending them to us as we go along. The single-action Army that I've got here has really become, I must say, my favorite gun. And between the Metal Life job, the Munden Action job, the Eagle grips with Black Buffalo horn and Black Buffalo horn, and the Sam Andrews holster that I've got for it, a gunfighter holster certainly, and perhaps not practical for the field, but an awful lot of fun, it's just a perfect rig. And this idea of having 3 guns in the same caliber, or several guns in the same caliber, makes a lot of sense in terms of ammunition supply. If you're going out for an afternoon's fun shooting, you're all set. You don't have to get out there and say, well, gosh, I forgot this caliber or that caliber. You're ready to go. And this is a tradition that's very, very much a part of the American way of life. During the Old West, of course, rifles were not commonly, if ever, chambered for .45 Colt. However, the combination of .44 Winchester in a rifle and in a handgun was commonplace. And it's that same tradition that we're talking about now. I'm very happy with my Derringer, with my lever-action Winchester, and with my Colt single-action Army. It makes a good combination for a lot of fun shooting, and that's really, in a lot of ways, what shooting is all about. I'm Jerry Ahern. Come on up, Carter. This will be paused out, so. You gonna take those for me? I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Are y'all TV? Temporarily. You're temporarily on. Be shut up.
Okay, I'm going again. Go ahead, Carter. Okay, thank you. Thanks, sir. Guess we'll do 5 more rounds. Smith & Wesson J-frames have always been one of my favorite guns in the world. This is my own personal Model 640 Centennial stainless steel with a Bearimy hip grip mounted on it, which makes it ideal for carry. You just stick it in your pants without a holster, and the gun stays put. This product's been around for, I would say, close to 23, maybe 24 years, and it's actually rather little known, which is a shame because it's about the most practical way in the world to carry a revolver, which is something for a person who makes holsters to say, but it's really true. And the first gun I ever owned was a Model 36 Chief Special in blue, and over the years I've gone through a number of Model 60 stainlesses, and this gun that I've been out here shooting today using Smith & Wesson originated and now federal produced 125 grain Nyclad ammunition. This gun is a Smith & Wesson Model 637, which is available on a very limited basis, and we'll be running the address where you can find out more about this if you wish at the end of this segment. This gun is rather interesting. It's a hybrid. It features an alloy frame, and it features a stainless barrel and stainless cylinder, and except for the alloy frame, it is identical to an all stainless steel Smith & Wesson Model 60. And to be very frank with you, firing the 125 grain Nyclads from Federal, I would have been hard pressed to tell that this was an alloy framed gun as opposed to an all stainless steel or ordnance steel gun. Recoil, perceived recoil at least, was minimal at best, and I'd have to say that this was quite excellent. I was firing this at 30 feet using the Nyclads, and this was quite literally brand new out of the box, and I've never claimed to be the world's hot rock pistol shot, and I think I was doing rather well with it. So this little gun, if you're interested in the durability of stainless steel and you're interested in an alloy frame, and if perhaps you're interested in having something that someday might be rather collectible too, because there are very, very few of these that were made, this little Smith & Wesson Airweight Model 637 is an interesting compromise handgun for someone looking for something lightweight to carry in pocket or purse or in a holster, yet looking for the durability of stainless steel. And as far as alloy frame guns go generally, in revolvers, it's safe to say you don't want to fire plus Ps in one of these. Standard velocity ammunition, or what I prefer for almost any sort of a J-frame sized gun, the 125 grain Nyclad, which is designed for this sort of gun, is really your best bet. Handling qualities, trigger pull, accuracy, I found to be excellent. This is a nice little gun, neat, and I'd recommend it to you. I'm Jerry Ahern. Thanks for watching. Stills. Johnny, for your reference, this is the Model 640 with the hip grip on it. The previous still was the Model 637. Johnny, this is another view of the hip grip shown from the rear, which is actually the best way to see what I'm talking about. Pause it. this is the Seacamp DA-32, and is a marvelous, marvelous little gun. You may not have seen one in the flesh, so to speak, because not a great number of these are made. The gun is essentially handmade, so either like buying a Rolls-Royce or a Ferrari, and it's easily compared to the Rolls-Royce or Ferrari of little pocket pistols or vest pocket pistols. It's almost that small. 32, you say. Why should anybody get excited about 32? Well, modern 32 ACP ammunition, namely the Winchester Silvertip in 32 ACP, is a rather effective anti-personnel round, vastly more so than 25 ACP. Originally, the Seacamp people produced this gun in 25 ACP. Then they dropped the 25 ACP chambering totally and started producing in 32 ACP. And Winchester Silvertip is what this gun is designed to take, period. Functioning is not guaranteed with any other type of 32 ACP. This is such a precisely made little gun, and it's not exactly inexpensive either, that you really should follow the manufacturer's directions. Now this gun is kind of unique in another way, I think. When I was a young man, which obviously was quite some time ago, I got really hooked on the James Bond stories, and in many respects that's one of the things that really started getting me interested in guns when I was a teenager. And I remember reading in the original Dr. No novel by Ian Fleming, where of course he has James Bond ordered by M to change guns, and he's told by Major Boothroyd, who was the armorer for the British Secret Service, to get rid of his little 25 ACP Beretta and to take a Walther PPK in 32 ACP, or 7.65 millimeter. That Major Boothroyd character is an interesting person for you to remember. Major Boothroyd, in reality, is Geoffrey Boothroyd, a Scottish gunwriter and Scottish gunsmith who was, like myself, quite enamored of the James Bond stories, and he communicated with Ian Fleming and suggested to Mr. Fleming that James Bond's use of a little 25 automatic was a little bit hard to take, and he recommended some guns for James Bond to carry. One of the guns that he recommended was the original Smith & Wesson Centennial, in the airweight version, if memory serves, a 38 Special. That was for heavy-duty stuff. But for regular carry, he recommended the 32 caliber Walther PPK, which is of course what James Bond used in all of the remaining original books written by Ian Fleming, and James Bond has used in virtually all of the films, with the exception of the occasional flight into a Walther P5 or something of this nature. And I somehow have the feeling that if Geoffrey Boothroyd were to take a look at this pistol, he'd probably be telling Ian Fleming, now here is a perfect gun for James Bond to be carrying because it's as small as that little 25 Beretta that he was carrying around, yet it's vastly more effective. Now I will tell you something quite sincerely. This is a finely made pistol. It will cost you considerably more than even a good 25 automatic. It's not a small fortune, but it's not inexpensive. But when you buy this, you're actually getting what I would consider to be the best pistol of its type made anywhere. There's a waiting list to get them. Getting spare magazines can be really, really difficult. And of course, you have to restrict yourself to the Winchester Silvertip. But of course, Winchester is a fine brand of ammunition. And I just cannot give this gun too many high marks. When I carry this pistol, which I do find myself doing increasingly more often, one of the holsters that I utilize for it is this one from Greg Kramer at Proline, which is a little belt holster. And this is just ideal for concealment under virtually any kind of circumstance. So if you're looking for a rather sophisticated 007-ish type of pistol that's got very practical, real-world utility, I would heartily recommend the Seacamp DA-32. It's a real winner. I'm Jerry Ahern. Okay. Okay.